What's going on? Want to talk about these kind of types and shadows. All right, when it comes to Israel from the Bible, not the modern state of Israel, the nation, the nationalist nation, but it's debatable whether it's actually the biblical or if it's just like a spin-off, you know? I mean, that's open for interpretation. But throughout history, there's people with these different characteristics of there was always this kind of Willie Lynch syndrome going on within Israel. I mean, it starts kind of with Cain and Abel. Joseph was sold into slavery. You know, these people are family members. So it's an inside. It's inside. It's like a family feud type deal, not like same family fighting against itself. And that is this terminology of Willie Lynch. It's kind of like where you turn the young against the old, the light skin against the dark skin, the like classes of like, you got city folk, country folk. You can start these kind of like hyped up, like where you kind of like feel superior, these little gangs, these little pockets of like this pride where you think you're better than them city folk, or we don't do that stuff them hillbillies do. There's this kind of mindset where it's kind of just like, well, different people from different areas, experience different kind of, they still experience life, but it's kind of a little different. So they're gonna like be different. But it's really, when you boils down to it, it's pretty much the same thing all the way around. But they exploit this kind of small difference to make you feel like you're separate, when in all actuality, it's just your one other half of the coin. And it's like in the Bible when it talks about the end times and it says ethnos, and on ethnos, it really means a civil war. It doesn't mean like whites versus black, like racism. It actually, to me, seems like it's a hardcore kind of Willie Lynch. Kind of like Hitler, supposedly is responsible for killing off all these Jews, but he himself was like a half-breed Jew. And, here's the thing. When I seen what Willie Lynch was, I realized, I'm like, like Indians are some of the most Willie Lynch people on the planet. And it makes sense because the reservation was another kind of experiment that they had going on of scientific engineering. And it was really racist type thing. But in order to conquer people, you can't have a unified people. You need these like divided up people that are like with these internal conflicts where they're broken. And then basically you got to trick them into needing a babysitter. And you get to, by like, these people can't, if it wasn't for us, these people would just slaughter everyone and kill themselves. But it's not necessarily true, because it's like you'll have these third parties inciting this inner tension, like they'll be false flagging and making it look like somebody did something, so they'll be on a revenge beef, and then that cycle will go on forever, and then they come in after the chaos, and then they take power. This was done during the pioneer colonial kind of days. This Willie Lynch was used on the Indians bad, but come to find out, it's even in the Bible. It's in like Chronicles where there was beefing between the inner tribes, and it's northern Israel and southern Israel. It's like the northern kingdom is the lost 10 tribes, which they say are found now, but no, because God says he'd scatter them in such a way that only he himself could bring them back. So it's like, because it's kind of like in a way we wouldn't even know our real identity, so it's hidden from regular people until it's revealed to you. It's like things about it. And then you realize there's pockets of these people all across the planet with all kinds of these little, they got little customs that resemble some of the customs from the Bible. Like, dude, it's weird, but some of Confucius's writings sound like they're just like it's a paraphrasing some of the Psalms. It's weird. So there's some overlay, like for instance in that situation. But anyway, China had the northern kung fu versus the southern kung fu. This is the same schematic as the children of Israel in a way. It's like even my own tribe, we were northerners, and then there was also relatives down south called the southerners. So it's another, and I'm even now they have the Mexican gangs in Cali. I mean, at least from what I've seen on TV. I don't go there. You know what I'm saying? But they're like the northern gang is called the Norteños, and the southern gang is called the Southerners. And this is the same schematic as this. Willie Lynch. Israel was Willie Lynched too, to some extent. It's like also, you know, it's there was this the Civil War in America was the North versus the South. There's also the King of the North and the King of the South in Daniel. It also talks about a confederacy. Like, look, the Indian rebellion was called the Confederacy, but then the Southern took that title as the Confederacy too. But that's the thing; it's weird. But our government is based on the Indians' form of government, which personally I believe it goes back to in like Numbers when they used to pass the club around. I think that's where their government comes from, but I can't prove that now. So it's like this is another reoccurring type and shadow that is just jumping out like over and over again throughout history. And I'm sure there's more examples even than what I just stated, but that's all the ones I could recall off the top of my head. But it's kind of like, because the world structure is divided, man, and it's done that way on purpose. So it's always, if we ever do gain power, for the powers, it's, you don't just get to get the power. It's like it's given to you for a time. But it seems like everyone throughout history that took the deal from the devil, their civilization like is destroyed beyond repair in a few hundred years. And in the whole scheme of things, in the big picture, that's not very long. So it's kind of like these systems, these nations, this, you know, kind of this grand chess match type deal between good and evil. It's part of its game is to get you to play its game, because it's like, since in the way it's the devil who is responsible for all this rebellion and man being tyrant, teaching man how to give him enough knowledge to become a tyrant. You know, it's like you might play the game to get in it for the right reasons, but in the end you just become as bad as the person you're trying to gain your independence from or whatever. So it's like either way you come out somehow guilty and filthy. It's just the way the whole thing's designed. So even if you do get free, you're not really free. But they don't care if you take a whole bunch of people out and also like doom yourself and a whole bunch of people in the process of tricking you, dangling this carrot. And this has been done over and over and over again. And it's like the mafia when an inside guy like shoots the last boss and then he becomes the boss. Mentality. I can do a better job as leadership than you. It's kind of like the politician, the ambitious politician who will win by any means. type deal, and these egomaniacs kind of like, look, and these sociopaths and psychopaths during times of like of disgruntledness and upheaval and reforms and weird clashes of ideologies. These guys get a lot of, that's the perfect like environment to breed these types. And people are in this kind of cult mentality where they're easily swayed in whatever direction the manipulators, because all this stuff really and ultimately is just manipulations. Word magic. It sounds legal. It sounds true. It's like legalese. It's like legal speech, but look. But there's always a plausible deniability even in the way that you speak it. So it's like, it's tricky. And that's why, you know, you can't never really, nothing ever really gets accomplished, because it's like, it's not meant to. Because by fixing it, these people, it'd be like they'd be eliminating their job security because they need a problem in order to get approval from the audience, from the masses, you know, for their campaign or whatnot. And it's kind of like on Blood In, Blood Out, man. This guy they false flag and killed their leader and blamed it on other gangs, so they eliminated all their competition. But they had to sacrifice their leader, and they actually killed him. I mean, this happened in Rome. They stabbed their own dude up. This happens quite. Look, Pontiac was killed by, I think, another Indian. Freaking, that's what this Willie Lynch really is about. It's not hate. All that hate has to go somewhere. So if you just sit there and get mad about these people, right? But look, really, you never even see them, rarely. So it's like you're all mad about these people and you don't even get to confront them. It's all hearsay about what you're mad at them for. But since you're entertaining this hate and this evil, when you get mad at somebody who's like probably in your own household, or your girlfriend or coworker, best friend, buddy from down the street, one day he's gonna trigger you, and you're gonna release the hate on someone you're gonna probably look closer to you. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're that racist, that's how you're gonna roll. You're gonna gravitate towards people that you think represent what you're stand for or whatever. So it's like, you can see right now, it's like, everyone's really like Willie lynched. It's not just to keep like race. It's not a race thing anymore. It's like everyone is Willie lynched. That was the realization when I realized Indians, how Willie lynched they are, because they'll look like the Michiganders are Willie Lynch. Look, up north, Yoopers call us trolls from downstate here. So they hate on us. So it's like, look, then they're up northers and we're the lower peninsula. So we're north and south. Willie Lynch hate as well. So it just goes to confirm what I'm saying. And it's like, you know, because if you're not a res Indian, you know, they'll consider you a city Indian. Same thing if you're Mexican, but you weren't born in Mexico and you don't speak Spanish that well, they won't consider you Mexican. They'll call you Mexican American. They'll find some reason to reject you. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's like, it's kind of like, it's preference, and it's not really based on, because look, they say blood's thicker than water, but not always, man. Sometimes it's like, that shit is more evil than people you don't know. Strangers aren't so rude and think they can get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Normally it's people that are close enough that do stuff like that. So it's just, you're always looking for these guys way off over here across the ocean in the cave, when it's these people in your psychological blind spot that you got to watch out for that are right close up to you.